so maybe they allowed it to happen. Maybe they allowed the assassination attempt on Trump to happen. Maybe they allowed Epstein to kill himself by relaxing security. Maybe J6 was not necessarily encouraged, but they allowed it to happen. I mean, it was like a month ago when it came out that Pelosi decided they didn't need the National Guard that day. So whose fucking fault is that really?
I think a lot of people think that if it's an inside job or it's a psyop or whatever term or moniker you want to use, that they actively create that exact situation. I think that they wait for opportunities, wait for situations, and allow them to happen. You know, if they say, oh, that person is a plant and they were made to be famous. No, I think that they wait for someone that has virality, wait for someone to get kind of famous, get people's attention, and they knock on that door and say, hey, like, why don't you agree with us? Or why don't you take our side? I don't think they create. I think that's very high risk. I think that's very expensive to create psyops from the very beginning. I think you wait for an opportunity and you capitalize on potential opportunities by allowing them to happen or infiltrating it towards the end or after the fact. I think that's how it works. I think it'd be very difficult to start. Just knowing how the U.S. government works, to think that they have 20-year plans to create a psyop for someone, hoping that everything works out according to the plan.
I don't think it's necessarily the U.S. government. I think it's the. I mean, I think that they are. I think there is a lot of U.S. government that is involved with deep state, not realizing they are involved with deep state. Does that make sense? And so it's compartmentalization of all these things is very key. And so, especially when you're in the middle of it, like, for example, like everybody thinks because I was a contractor at CIA, they think that I have insight into the JFK assassination and are there aliens on the moon and dude, I don't have access to any of that shit. The way classified programs and agencies work is you have a need to know. I could have the top security clearance in the world, and just because, but it would be on this particular thing. So let's say, okay, you have a top security clearance, you have a TSSCI clearance with a polygraph and full scope poly, and you're hunting bin Laden. I can't just be like, you know what, I think I know I have this clearance and my whole job is to hunt down and kill bin Laden, but I want to know about the JFK assassination. So I'm just going to walk over to this office and be like, hey guys, give me the files. Like, that's not how it works. You have to have a need to know. And so you have to have the clearance level and you have the need to know. Well, why do you need to know this? You know, and that's not determined by you. That's determined by somebody higher than you. And you see what I'm getting at? So everything's, and then you're busy. You're busy hunting down bin Laden. So you don't even have time. You're doing your very small piece out of something that's multi-organizational task. Or, you know what I mean? The CIA, the FBI, the SEAL teams, the Green Berets, Delta, Team 6, the State Department. Everybody's got their piece. The DIA, the NSA, the CIA, you know, everybody's got a very small piece, and it keeps you very busy, and you're just doing your little piece the best that you can because you think it's not until later on that you're not in it anymore when you can get more of a 30,000 foot view of what's happening and piece all these different things together and go, oh shit.
Do you think it is a dedicated group of people that are playing with all these different roles and responsibilities of different people and organizing kind of the chaos that we're seeing? Or do you think it is a result of just the organism and the administration or the establishment as it is? And because of all the compartmentalization that we actually don't have direction and things are kind of falling apart. I mean, do you think it's intentional versus just a product of kind of what we've created?
I think it's both. I think it's both.
Because
what
a lot
do you
of
think?
I think, how do you fight an enemy if you don't know who the enemy is? I think that all the time. Because there is someone out there or a force or something over in the world that is creating the direction of what we're fighting against. If that's a person, if it's a group of people, if it is a evil spirit, whatever it is, the fact that we don't know makes it extremely difficult to fight. I think if we ever know, then you'd see a rally of people going, okay, we have a common enemy, let's go up against them. I think that's the hardest part of it. And I think that's why there's chaos, because we don't know who we're fighting. But there's clearly something that we're all fighting against. We just have no idea what that is. If it's chance, if it's coincidence.
We're fighting a bunch of people that have a leash around their neck. I think what's actually happening, and I think this is a big part of what's happening, and a lot of people are probably going to hate this, I think that capitalism is being used against itself. And so you look at some of these everybody in D.C., right? How many of these guys have companies, have Chinese companies? Well, that's a communist country. So Mitch McConnell, for instance. They have that big shipping company, right? That goes it's a Chinese shipping company, ships goods back and forth to the U.S. all the time. All China has to do is snap their fingers, and now that multi-million-dollar company that Mitch McConnell and his wife own is now gone. So do what we tell you, vote the way we tell you, or your multi-million-dollar company is gone. It's that simple.
I think in the last 10, 15 years, I feel like our country has been led by greed. And I think that's kind of why we've become the way we are, because everyone's so greedy. Everyone wants to maximize everything. I think the best people that are competent, that could have been leaders, focused on making as much money as possible rather than focus on things that may be in better society.
Yeah.
I think all the best men put their energy in greed. But that's been kind of, I guess, evil spirit that's been looking over the country and looking over the world. My biggest fear is that with the Trump assassination attempt, that we're going to shift from a greed-based society to a retribution and vengeance-based society. Because one evil spirit that kind of overlooks the entire world is pride. Pride is always the downfall of all men. There's a reason why it's number one. It's the first deadly sin. Just like the freedom of speech is the most important, because that's why it's first. Pride is the most dangerous. That's why that's first. And we've all been consumed with pride. That's something that all men fight with. And pride is the downfall of all great men. But the secondary spirit has been greed. My fear is that with the Trump assassination attempt, we're going to move from a greed-based society to a retribution-based society. And I think that's even more dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
People are pissed.
I think you're right.